the blackest person on the panel. I can be late.
Let's give Collin a big hand.
Late.
There we go. Ready?
What was the net effect of the Niantic project? We had crossed a threshold in which global security could be at risk. Decrypting the data was the mistake.
This is not psychosis or some cognitive break, but an actual takeover of the mind.
Much of the public sculpture found in our cities is based on design seeded in the human mind.
Certain places have an energy that not only attracts people, but attracts events.
The mission of 13 Magnus is to monitor the effects of mind hacking. Obviously, this will be done with the highest of security, to make sure that the ideas do not contaminate or threaten humanity.
This all leads to Niantic.
I know that many tools will be needed to fight this battle.
You just have to know where to look and know what you're seeing.
Portals emit exotic matter into our world, and that matter has certain effects on our world.
I started noticing that there were energy fields, anomalies on Earth all around me.
A few of them exhibit properties that are as yet unexplained.
I know that there are others out there.
What if they're already among us, but we don't realize it?
And I must be prepared to work with them or fight them. They are coming. Something's wrong out there in the world. This doesn't feel like a scientific study.
The one hope lies in understanding what happened at Niantic.
Not all mysteries are solvable, but the joy comes in the pursuit.
Thank you for coming here to our panel today. Great to see you all here. How you guys having a great time at Comic-Con? Yeah? How many of you have been here all 3 days? Are your feet tired? All right. Let's get started. Have a little introduction. Some introductions really quick. Let's start here and move along.
Yeah, my name is Steve Ball. I'm on the Resistance side. My agent name is SCT-23.
Okay. My name is Robert Walker, and I am in the Enlightened faction of the game.
I'm Jess Ronowski. I'm dispatcher for the Resistance.
I'm Joe Moore, or Aves. I play on the Enlightened side, and you'll get to know those terms later.
I'm Tim Johnston. I play on the Resistance side as Colonel Hannibal.
That was you.
And I am Collin Williams, aka Collin 3000, because I come up with unique names. Enlightened.
All right.
Yeah. Which game got 2,999?
There was a lot of us.
All right, so before we get started, just by raise of hands, how many of those here have never played Ingress? Oh, good number. And how many have? Okay. Of those that have, how many are like level 5 or lower? Okay, so a few of you out there. So still getting your feet wet. Okay. So let's get started with the question which will be of most interest to those of you who haven't played, which is, what is Ingress? And you know, for those of us up here, Ingress is something that has, at least to some extent, kind of taken over our lives, and hopefully, but in a good way. And hopefully, by the end of this, you'll see why. And we've got a short little introductory video that kind of gives the basics of what Ingress is.
Leaked Niantic technology under the codename Ingress has allowed ordinary citizens to interact with XM. Agents converged on Portland, Oregon. Another confrontation occurred in Milan, Italy. Following the events in San Francisco, it is feared that XM is a very real thing.
Weapons will not always win a war. Sometimes it is the hearts of men. And numbers.
There's some things you need to know.
Started playing as soon as we got the invite, snapped on the sneakers and just ran out of the house.
We've been through any number of iterations of our strategies, what we're going to do, where we're going to be.
Agent activity is spiking to an all-time high.
There are so many kinds of people, and they're always friendly. The community is brilliant.
I was not a gamer before.
I've made so many connections in my local community that I would have never made otherwise.
I think that the world's been ready for something like Ingress for a really long time.
But what is Ingress?
Ingress is
a giant game of capture the flag.
Where you play a video game, but in real life.
But it's not just 2 hills or something like that. It's
throughout the world.
There's nothing really like it out there.
Ingress is an augmented reality game.
Ingress is not a game.
The line between reality and a game and story get blurred.
This is the kind of thing that everybody's always wanted to do. Like, you bring video games into real life.
Agents are being encouraged to report areas which feature unique works of art, architecture, or other unusually creative sites.
Portal is the central part of gameplay.
Maybe there's 20 in your neighborhood, maybe there's 10.
I've learned a lot of history based on the portals that I've seen.
So you find yourself going in a lot of different places, checking out a lot of new and different things that you never would have before. I've probably lost about 15, 20 pounds at this point.
It helps break down barriers of race and gender and everything else.
It's about people gaming not only from behind a computer screen, but in real life.
This is a huge thing for the gaming industry and just for social networking in general.
It's always evolving, and I feel like we're part of that evolution.
Anything could happen. It's Ingress, you know?
The Enlightened will win.
We have to turn it off.
All right. Anyway, so hopefully that gave you a little bit of a feel of what Ingress is. But to basically explain, just like the Wii got gamers up off the couch, Ingress gets you out of the house. You have to actually go to real-world locations in order to play this game. So the game world of Ingress is our world. It turns our world into a game world. And so let me just give you an example really quick. How many of the locals know where this is? Just raise your hand if you know where that is. Okay. For those of you who don't, it's in Murray. It's in Murray Park. It is a statue called Chief Wasatch. And this was actually the first portal I ever hacked in the game. First place I visited, yeah. And in Ingress, this is actually what we call a portal in the game. And please advance. Thank you. Okay. So, to interact with this portal in the game, you have to actually physically go there with your iOS or Android device. And you pull it up on your screen and it can look like that. And so here you can see, it's got one device on it that will, I'm sure if you join, people will explain more detail. But it's pretty weak at the time this screenshot was taken. I could go there, I could physically go there and take this over for my faction. So that is the really interesting, compelling thing, is you go to real world places, you learn interesting things about your community, things I didn't even know. I learned by playing this game. And this is basically how it works. You go out there and you find these portals, and you destroy them and capture them for your faction. And then you can, once you've got these captured portals, you can actually start linking them together. And when you link 3 of them together in a triangle, it forms what is called a control field. And that is how you gain points for your faction. And so you could repeat that process all over the world. And this is actually a shot of part of Salt Lake City, what it looked like at one point a few days ago. And so that is how your faction gains progress in the game, is you take over these areas with these control fields. And with that, I will turn the time over to Joe to talk about backstory.
Okay. We should probably note that the points you score for those fields is based on the number of the population within that area.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the story, because the game when it started to have this fantastic story, and that's really the hook that got me. Getting out of the house to play a game was cool, but it all started in November of 2012. There was this mysterious figure named P.A. Chapeau who started leaking documents online related to something called the Niantic Project. The Niantic Project, as we found out, was a secret project at CERN Laboratories in Switzerland, funded by a reclusive part of the US government, the NIA. He's investigating it, he's trying to figure out what it is they're doing. Essentially, they discovered this new form of matter called exotic matter, or XM, that has these weird properties. It interacts with human minds. It enhances creativity and intelligence, but it also has the ability, if used wrong, to take over minds and to influence them and control them. Things at the Niantic Project come to a head in December of 2012 with an event called Epiphany Night. While playing with some new XM-based technology, a massive burst of XM is unleashed upon the research facility. Several of the researchers go mad. Several of them produce the most brilliant works of their career. You've got musicians composing, you've got artists arting. It's been a long week, I can't do words. And in the middle of it all, two of the researchers, Roland Jarvis and Deborah Bogdanovich, that name's a mouthful, decide to escape because they're afraid of where the project is going. They escape with the help of the Niantic Project's AI, Ada, who has been enhanced with XM to become a real individual. She's scary.
Yeah, if you're enlightened.
And she actually arranges for Roland Jarvis to be shot in Zurich. So later, we discovered that Jarvis was not killed. He was absorbed into the portal network. He has become a creature of XM. He later manages to regain his corporeal form, but he forms the core of the Enlightened. People who believe that XM will bring about the future, that it will guide us to a better, tomorrow. And that the mysterious force behind XM, which has come to be known as the Shapers, are benevolent and that they want to help us advance. At the same time, another faction arises, initially led by Dr. Deborah Bogdanovich, the other one who escaped. They believe that XM is a Pandora's box, and that the potential for the destruction of humanity is great, and that, what point is there to advancement if we lose our humanity in the process? I hope I'm doing it justice, my resistance friends. Another key figure for the resistance, and who's now kind of their head in some ways, is Ada. That AI stands for a detection algorithm. I think she's Skynet. These guys think she's cool. Whatever. Some other notable figures from the game. Hank Johnston is an archaeologist and an explorer, kind of Indiana Jonesy, except minus the bullwhip. He was an early convert to the Enlightened cause, but was tragically killed. We think, maybe. We haven't heard from him in a few months. We think he's dead, we're not sure.
If you could put his picture on a milk carton for us, that'd be great.
Yeah. Oliver Linton Wolf, you saw him in that video earlier. He's an XM weapons specialist. He's alive, and his loyalty lies with whoever will pay him the most. Clue is because he's more enlightened than Resistance, that's why. Clue is an XM sensitive. That is someone who can detect and feel XM. She has been merged with Ada. Ada took her over. That's why I think Ada's evil. These guys say it was cool because, she's better off.
Of course, if you ask these guys, they'll say Jarvis is scary because he thinks human soul tastes delicious. So.
Yeah. And then an important figure, if you start playing the game right now, is Susanna Moyer. She runs a weekly show called the Ingress Report, which gives you a Niantic-sanctioned view of all of the events in the game each week. So you can read the story. They published 2 books and a comic book and a couple of short stories. You can find them on Google Play or on the Amazon Kindle store. Personally, the Niantic Project Ingress is my favorite. It's pretty good. And I think we have some comic books to give away later. But yeah.
All right, so you heard a little bit about the 2 factions. So basically in the gameplay, you'll either be playing as an Enlightened agent or a Resistance agent. When you first start the game, you will choose which side you're on. So first off, so these are the basic symbols for the 2 sides, the Enlightened and the Resistance. And they kind of have a color go with them as well. The Enlightened is green, Resistance is blue. We sometimes refer to the Enlightened as the Toads and ourselves as the Smurfs. So lots of fun banter there. So the real question is which side do you choose exactly? I mean, which side is the good side, which side is the bad side? Enlightened believe that it's time for humanity to take the next step and that the Shapers are here to help us. Whereas the Resistance believe that humanity should not be forced and that the Shapers have an agenda. Well, it's not so cut and dry as saying one side is the better side versus the other. Niantic has gone to great lengths to make both sides pretty balanced. There isn't an overarching evilness on one side versus the other. So it's not like you're going to get stuck in one side or the other that you don't like. So with that, you can choose your side. For here in Utah, our 2 communities is the Utah Enlightened and the Utah Resistance.
Inventive names, guys.
Yeah, we're very clever like that.
Actually, we're Enlightened Utah.
Oh,
we got it back. We turned it around on you.
Yeah. I guess we got. I was told the other day that the Enlightened guys are pretty upset that we beat them to the punch with the arch in our logo. So,
it's okay.
So, anyway, with that, I turn it over to Jess.
Okay, so once you choose your side, you get involved in the community that where you live. And
put your mouse right there. You want me to do it for you?
Yeah, sure.
Just don't pull.
Okay, so you connect with other agents in your community, and this picture here is an event, and you can plan events. Anybody can do that. You can plan them for your side. You can plan them for your side. You can plan them for other things. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Some things that we plan farms. So everybody gets together in big groups of portals and we all go out farming. This picture is actually from a farm where everybody decided they were going to bring a bacon dish. So you can get creative and you can have a little fun with it.
Yeah, it should explain by farming we mean gathering up gear for the game.
Right, you go into a group of portals, you build them as high as you can because you have to work with others to get higher level gear. So the further you get into the game, the more you have to work with other people. So when you do farms, usually we try to do what's called an 8 farm. It takes 8 level 8 agents or above, which that's the highest level gear that you can get, to make it a level 8 portal to guarantee that you'll get level 8 gear. So we try to make level 8 farms, and so we actually create events and invite others in our community to them so that we can all show up at the same time so we can actually get that higher level gear. Or you can create events for special operations. This one was a cross-faction operation where everybody linked into 2 different portals that were right in the middle. I don't know how many links there were for either side for this event, but it's just an example of something that you could do. Which leads us to the cross-faction get-togethers. Just a couple weeks ago, I was in Colorado getting my stuff because I just moved here, and they have a yearly cross-faction picnic where everybody from both teams get together and they have a scavenger hunt that you actually have to have 2 agents from both sides. You have to get together, you have to work together. We had to build green fields and blue fields and get screenshots of both of them together. We had to make field art together, and then the first team that got back with all of those things, you had to submit portals and other things, but you had to be the first team back with all of those items to win. So it's really fun. You can work with other people from other teams, so it's it really makes it to where you realize that these aren't just other people that you're playing against. They're not your enemy. They're people that you know, they're really people, and you're out there and you're actually getting to know these people. And then the biggest events that we have are called Anomalies. This picture is actually from Santa Fe. They have a whole bunch of different things involved in Anomalies, which is actually where we're going from here. Okay. So the next slide says what are Anomalies, and they're just big organized events where both factions come together and fight over the same thing to earn the most points during a specific time period. So if you look at Ingress and you say Ingress is like a war, say the Civil War, then an anomaly is like a battle within that war, for example, Gettysburg, where both teams come together, both sides, and you fight for the same stuff. And at a certain time, Niantic, who is the organization that runs the game, they take a screenshot of what's called the intel map. And whoever has more links or more fields or more portals, you get points for everything that you have in that specific time frame. So that's what basically Anomalies are about. You come together, you fight for the same thing, and you want to make sure that your team gets more than the other. So just like any other game or match of any kind. They usually draw a lot of events. This picture is actually from the Salt Lake City Anomaly during the Interitus series, which was just a couple months ago. They can be anywhere in the world. I've actually been involved in quite a few that are overseas as well. Berlin, Melbourne. I'm working on a couple more that are coming up that I'm not going to say. But
oh, come on, you can trust us.
Yeah.
I won't tell anybody what you tell me in confidence.
So, but Niantic organizes these the official events, but they can also be put together by players. They've been known to be put together by groups in Panama City, but also here in Utah. So.
Yeah. So. What was it, like a year and a half ago, April of 2013, we had a player-organized anomaly here. We held it up at the Capitol. We'd seen that other cities were doing these anomalies. You know, Niantic was organizing these official anomalies, and we decided we wanted one. So we put it together and came up with the rules and did it. And I don't know how many people were there, because I never actually made it to the Capitol that day.
It was a lot.
Yeah, there was a bunch of people there.
I would conservatively estimate that there were about 80, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, for that time in the game, that was a lot of people.
Yeah,
the game was still invite only. You had to like request an invite and get one, and it was harder to get in because they were doing a beta. But unbeknownst to all the people up at the Capitol, there was one point that was available for having the largest control field over the anomaly site. And so the night before, I was talking to some agents on our side, and one of them had noticed a portal down in Manti that looked like it might have been part of a resistance plan. So I was like, okay, I'll drive down there and I'll go kill it so they can't put this up. So I go do that. I get up to, so I go down to Manti, take it out, get back up to about Spanish Fork, and then I get a call, dude, this guy, Colonel Hannibal, just showed up in Nephi. We think he's headed to our anchor portal. And so we turned around and flew south.
And so we had actually driven down, and we knew that something was going on. And so we kind of headed down. We had a choice of either going to Manti, because we saw that they destroyed the portal down there. And kind of on blind luck, we decided to head west and go to Delta instead. So we sat there and pretty much took everything over, and we're about ready to head back when suddenly pretty much I get notifications in my phone that Alves here is actually hitting the exact same portal in the exact same town, who was about probably 30 feet from me. Now, I had never met him before that, so we turned around. I mean, we were in a car, it was probably 3 of us, and turned around, saw him. So pretty much for about 20 minutes, I think it was, just literally going head to head. He was trying to deploy on the portal, I was destroying it, he would destroy it, we went back and forth for about 20 minutes. And finally, after the entire anomaly was over, we finally both sat there and said, so hi, who are you?
Yeah, I was too busy playing with my phone and hoping my data would give out or would not give out because I was roaming. And I think my favorite part was when he ran out of XM. You have to suck up XM as you go. So he just goes tearing off in his Jeep to go suck up more from the other portals in town. It was a lot of fun. It's still the most fun 20 minutes I've had playing this game. Just driving out to this obscure little spot in the middle of nowhere, Utah, to play this game for 20 minutes. We didn't get the field up, but it was still a lot of fun.
You should also make clear that you don't have to drive into the middle of nowhere to have fun with this game. There's plenty of fun to have right here in the city. But if you're willing to do that, there's some additional fun to be had.
It can be a lot of fun driving out. I mean, doing 3-hour trips out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, we've driven out to Moab, people have gone to Colorado.
I did 15 hours in a car once. We'll cover that later.
So in addition to these anomalies and the player-created anomalies and such, players can play the game any way they really want. There's certain ways that you gain points in the game, but there's lots of room left for creativity. For instance, the resistance plans, we spent several months planning this out to create links and fields that covered the entire planet. So we developed links between people. We set up communities so that we can exchange keys, because you have to have a key to a remote portal to link to it. What you see here, this is the North America after we put up our links. We didn't get all the fields we wanted, but we got a lot. And we had a single link that spanned the entire globe contiguously. So Utah's part in this was we were a major hub. We were originally going to use Delicate Arch as our main anchor portal, but it turned out that we accidentally got keys out to Arch's visitor center, so that actually ended up being an anchor. However, there were still major links that went straight through the Provo-Orem area. So we had a team that went down to Moab to set up the anchor portal and to link out. And we had multiple roving teams in Provo and Orem and around that area that were driving through, taking down blocking links, and trying to prevent the Enlightened from catching on to what we were doing. The plan is to link it all up at the same time worldwide. So for Utah, that ended up being about 4 a.m. So our team sat in the visitor center parking lot with a beautiful view of the stars as we waited for the message to go link. And we were getting pretty slap happy at about 4 a.m. when the links finally came up. And it was a lot of fun, and it was really interesting to see agents worldwide who had no good reason to do this. I mean, it really wasn't something that gave us a huge advantage. I mean, we did get something like 1.29 billion mine units out of it.
Oh my God.
But the
Mine units being the people that you cover with those fields.
It's
right. Points.
Mine units are points.
So, you know, it was a very transitory sort of thing, like the fields were down within a couple of hours of us putting them up, but just the matter of all these people coming together to say, yeah, we can do that all at the same time across the entire planet. So that's just the kind of game that Ingress is. I mean, you go from having your local events where you're hanging out with your buddies to working together with people that you may not have ever known that you could meet before, cities away, states away, continents away. So it's a great way to meet people. It's a great way to go into a new town and instantly have a network there. I don't think I've ever gone anywhere, but I haven't been able to pull up my scanner and say, hey, where's a good place to meet and not have, or to eat, and have someone say, hey, well, let's go meet here and hang out and eat.
That actually just happened. There's a group and some guys in Park City. They're like, hey, I'm in Park City. What should I eat?
Yeah. So it's very handy for networking in that regard.
Steve, could you point out what time the picture of the arch was taken?
All right, so we had to go to the arch, to Delicate Arch itself to take down a link. We arrived there just after dark, so this photo of the arch was actually taken in pitch darkness. It was a long exposure, but I painted the key on the arch with a flashlight. So we were at the arch until about 10, 11 o'clock, I think it was, and we hiked back in the darkness. Luckily, we had some flashlights. So it was kind of interesting being there with the wind whipping around and whatnot that late at night.
And so this was actually the first mega field that was established over Utah. I believe this was back early 2013. This involved, I think it was about 16 agents, April. Actually, some of them are sitting right here today. But this involved a couple, one of our agents actually headed down to Las Vegas, and he was down there. Myself and two of my friends were actually assigned tasks with heading down to both Green River and Moab. And so we ended up getting there a little bit late, but we were able to get down there in time to Green River and shot the first link, which created a bunch of those fields. And after we sat there, we kind of basked in our glory for a while, watching the scanner, and then realized that we'd still had yet to get down to Moab. So we hold down there and set up the final link and kind of help top off the field. And we ended up actually camping out in Moab for the night. And that was my first time being down in Moab, and it was kind of a neat thing to get you out there and get you going places that you've never been.
I remember when that happened, it was just like, oh my gosh, there's so much blue, what do I do?
So one of the more fun experiences that I've had playing Ingress was working on what we called Operation Venomous Toad, which was almost exactly a year ago.
Comic-Con last year.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And in fact, Comic-Con was actually a key exchange location, at least originally. But Aves over here came up with the idea of let's make this big field that covers the state and have none of the vertex, the three vertices be in the state, that they're all out of state. And I volunteered to be mission control for this, which meant I was sitting at a computer looking at what was going on, and it was really strange because I would tell people, hey, I need you to go to this place out of state, and they would do it. And I'm like, it was really strange for me, but yeah. But it was interesting. A couple of interesting things. Aves over here was driving down to that southeastern corner.
Durango, Colorado.
Durango, Colorado.
That's a long drive, especially when there's construction.
Yeah. There's an area there where there isn't a whole lot of cell coverage, and so we had telemetry on where all our agents are, so we could keep track of them. And I was looking at the telemetry map, and Aves dropped off the map, and I was expecting that, so I wasn't too concerned. But 3 hours later, he was still not on the map. So I started to become concerned. Did he get in an accident? Is he in a mangled heap under a semi somewhere? I mean, but he eventually emerged because there was just construction, and
middle of nowhere. Like there's nothing to fix. There's barely a road there.
So everybody gets into position, and I give the go command, and the western link goes up, the southern link goes up. The eastern link does not go up. And I'm sitting there was some lag there, and it was taking a while. And I'm a little concerned because our hand has been tipped. Fields are triangles. We've drawn two sides of them. It doesn't take a genius to figure out where the third link is gonna go. And I'm just worried that the Smurfs are gonna see what's going on and throw another link out to block what we're doing, and all these plans would be for naught. Fortunately, it went up in time. We actually layered 7 fields there, which means on your device, you're looking at it, you can't see the streets anymore because it's just green. And then there are a few more fields up at the north, and a couple, one that went over Denver. And so that got us over 7 million mind units, which was a really great experience.
And that's back when they weren't counting right, so the entire state of Utah only counted for 800,000.
Yeah.
Which means that I'm not part of the Million MU Club.
Yeah.
There could also be a lot of brain dead people in Utah that they didn't count first.
Yeah. But my favorite part was that some of the resistance players up in Boise, which was covered by part of this, dubbed it the Angry Chicken. So this is my beloved Angry Chicken.
It does kind of look like a chicken. Yeah. But I never thought that just sitting at my computer looking at 2/3 of a triangle would ever get my heart pounding quite as much as it did right then. Because it's like I've sent these people for miles, for hours out here. Come on, when's that third line gonna come up? And so I was astonished at how much palms started sweating and the heart started beating. It was a lot of fun. There was also a massive rainstorm right after, and so, but fortunately our agents got home safe. And let's turn that over to Collin.
So a lot of these guys have been talking about driving for hours, and that might seem obsessive to people who haven't played.
It is, we're crazy.
It is, yeah.
We're not normal.
I originally, when I tell people the game, I don't say, would you like to play this game with me? I say, would you like to join my cult? It's about the same, yeah. And
all held in Link Camp. Sorry, inside the game joke.
No, but it's there's very unique aspects of this game that were touched on a little bit in the different videos. I think, by a raise of hands, who here has a favorite game or a favorite movie that has gotten you through a really difficult time, that's something really special to you? And that's what Ingress is for me personally, because when I started playing, I was back, they mentioned there was an invite-only system now. Anyone you can download it and play, and you had to submit it, you had to submit for an invite, and I waited months, and my invite came in when one of my friends was in the hospital, and I was staying with her in Portland. I'd driven up to Portland. I was staying with her 24 hours a day in the hospital, and the nurse staff just kept saying, you need to get out of the hospital, you need to walk for your own sanity, and you need to get out, and I didn't want to leave, and then I got this Ingress invite in my inbox, and I downloaded the app, and I looked around me, and just in the local neighborhood, there was some places, and so I got out and I walked a little bit, and there was this little respite, this little relief, and I got to know more about Portland, which I grew up in the city, and I was discovering these old churches, these places that I hadn't seen before, that some of them had been shut down because they were so old, these buildings were corroded, but I got to see these amazing monuments to the history of the city I grew up in, and then eventually I started getting out more. I started driving a little bit to play with it, and I got to explore downtown historic Portland's train station, where my dad worked, and I knew nothing about it. And I got to see the city that I had seen as a child through these new eyes, seeing important pieces of art, these historical monuments that we drive by every single day. I mean, on my phone, if I pull up the little scanner, like the guy was mentioning in the video, your neighborhood might have 10, it might have 20. If you live in downtown New York, apparently, I don't know where that guy lives, I have like 20 feet out of my range, so I can't use it, and it angers me every single day. I have to get out of my bed and walk 20 feet to go get it, but it's worth it. And if you go, who here actually lives in the Salt Lake area? So a lot of people, if you live in the Salt Lake area, there's scattered all over. I bike around Liberty Park, and I get to play that way, and it gets you out of doors and playing, but it's one of those things that's a great de-stressor, because not only do you have a chance to get out of the house, it's not you sitting in your bedroom feeling sad, it's you getting out, you have to see things, you have to go out in the daylight, and that alone helps for anything. But then on top of it, when you get to these higher levels, there's this community that's around you. There's these people that you get to meet, you form relationships and friendships that are amazing and make you, it solves so many of your problems and makes you happy.
And that community is really awesome. We actually do a lot of fundraising for our own agents. You'll see on the left side there's a field that looks like Batman symbol. That's a cross-faction field. You see there's blue and green. That was actually a fundraiser for an agent out of Atlanta. His brother passed away in a tragic accident and left behind 2 small children and 1 on the way. And so the community of Atlanta decided they were going to get together, and they made this big field, and they raised a lot of money to help support his family. And on the right side you see those patches with the 2 J's on it. That was another fundraiser that we did just recently. A few years ago, one of our very highly respected agents, he lost his son, who had been severely disabled since birth, and he wasn't supposed to live past 7 months, but he made 7 years. And they, ever since then, have been, people will donate to try to help them pay all the medical bills that they still have left. And instead of using that money for bills, they use it to go towards a camp where their son went every year. And every year now they have what's called Jason's Day, where they raise enough money every year to send all the kids from the camp to an amusement park that they shut down and have only open for those children. However, this year on the anniversary of his birthday, our agent went to his gravesite and found that the temporary marker that was there no longer had his name on it. And so those of us who are very close friends with this gentleman decided that wasn't acceptable. And so we did a huge fundraiser. We had patches made. The patches, you know, you put in so much for the patch. Of course, it only costs so much, but then the extra went towards the donation. Or you could obviously just donate straight out. We raised $5,000. And the marker that they decided for his grave was $3,000. It's been the one that they've been watching for ever since he had passed. And so we put a marker over his grave, and we donated that extra $2,000 for that camp for those kids. So this is not just something that it's a game and you sit at home, like we said, you get out, but you make connections with people in your community and people on the other side of the country and on the other side of the world. And this is a game like no other game you've ever played.
You can even make friends with people on the other side of the faction divide.
Nope, imagine that.
I have drinks with them all the time.
Tear down their farms and then you all go get pizza after.
Yep. Exactly, yeah. You foil their plans and then you get food and beer.
All right, so that was the presentation. At this time, we would like to open it up for questions, especially from those of you who have not played or who are new agents to the game. We especially want to take your questions. So if you have a question, raise your hand. We'll call on you. Make sure you speak loud enough for everyone to hear you. We'll start here. That's my brother. Yeah. He's not a plant, I promise.
I just downloading it now with 3G is terrible. Can you switch sides?
It is possible to switch sides. They will let you do that once. We recommend that you try to pick the side you want to be on at the outset, because it can take a while.
Or you can just choose Enlightened now and switch over to us later.
Well, that's the problem. Brother, don't know
Yeah.
if I'm biased.
Well, see, that brings up the question of, well, which team do you pick? Well, if the answer there is if you have a friend who plays, well, then it depends on the nature of your relationship with your friend. If you want to play together, then pick the same side as your friend. If you have a more competitive relationship, maybe you want to do the other side. Gameplay-wise, it doesn't really make any difference. Both sides have equal capabilities in terms of what actions they can do in the game. So if you don't have a friend that plays, then it's just up to you. Flip a coin if you want, or if one of the factions has a philosophy that you like, you can go that one.
Can we
Favorite color?
Yeah. It's like, can we get the enthusiastic kid in back? He has his arm up all that time.
Yeah, okay. But yeah. Speak loud.
I've played Ingress for a long time. But why do the other team always cheat?
Who wants to take it?
Can I answer that one? No matter which team you are on, the other team always cheats. And no matter which team you're on, the other team is so lazy they never want to leave their car to play. That's what I've found. The other team is always evil no matter which team you're on. So that's...
Like, there are some cheaters out there, but nobody likes them. They hurt the game for everybody. So, and they're on both sides.
So there's some people that make negative they've been doing it for a couple of years.
You gotta talk louder. We can barely hear you.
These people will make meta fields for a few years, and I think they're using mule accounts.
Well, it's hard.
You can always report someone if you feel that that's the case.
Well, the great thing is, so the guys who make the game, Niantic is a sub-corporation of Google. If you don't think Google knows everything you're doing, so they have ways that they can track down people. I mean, sometimes it seems like someone's cheating. I've been playing where someone is on the other side of a building and I can't see them, so you think they're cheating, and then you walk around the building and you're like, oh, okay, that's where they were. So they do track it very, and so sometimes they might reject someone, you might think someone's cheating, and they aren't. So.
Let's have the guy in the gray shirt right here.
How do you guys think Endgame will impact Ingress, or if it will at all?
It's already impacted the staffing for the Niantic for Ingress.
So,
go ahead.
Just to explain, Endgame is this big thing that's coming out. It's a book, it's a movie, it's a game, and the game part of it is being built by Niantic, the same guys who do Ingress, on the same platform. I'm actually really excited about the book, not so much about the game or the movie, but the book seems pretty cool.
So that's
too long to go into here.
Google it.
Google it.
Yeah. But yeah, let's have classes.
How much does the app cost, and is there an active group in the Boise area?
The app is completely free.
Yes.
Well, all you need to have is a data plan. But I do know of agents that have played on Wi-Fi only, which is obviously more difficult because you have to know where the Wi-Fi is that's open. But yes, there is an active community in Boise. Any one of us here could probably get you connected with them.
The only in-app purchase you can even make is at a Chevron or a Maverick, where you pull the last thing.
So let's have right there, and then there's a couple here, and then we'll go over here.
We only have a few minutes
left. Yeah, so make it quick.
If we can't get to you, we'll gladly answer your questions after.
Is there ever like a safety issue when you meet other agents?
So interestingly enough, although there is, obviously you can see when someone's attacking or doing something, there's been no issues whatsoever in the game of anyone getting hurt. I mean, it is being tracked, so I mean, the only time that you have to really worry about anything is your portal getting attacked by someone else. There's been no instances in the state of anything.
It's really easy to be brave behind a computer, but when you're out in the real world and you meet someone face to face, when you realize that they're just another player, a lot of that evaporates, and you end up meeting friends instead of adversaries.
Let's have a blonde right here. That, yeah, you turning around.
I feel my hair is black.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know, but still.
What's your question?
I'm a level 3 player. What's the fastest way to level up?
Work with someone else in your community. Get with someone else who's a higher level and they can help you.
Whichever team you're on, find one of us on the panel and we'll hook you up so that you can get level fast.
Yeah. Okay, and then right behind him.
What's your favorite place you've ever been? Anyone you can answer that question?
I went to the Biltmore in Asheville, North Carolina. I've never been there before. I'd always wanted to go when I lived in the South. And I went and I took a trip to go to the Asheville Anomaly. And the very next day, everybody that was from out of town, we all went to the Biltmore together. And there are tons of portals there that we found out after the fact. But we all just wanted to go to the house, and it was amazing. And we got a whole lot of unique hacks off of it, too.
We want to do one more of favorite?
My favorite portal is the one that was with the slide that I actually had up. It was the children's garden at the hospital that was not already a portal. You can submit your own if you're on Android. iOS is coming soon. So if you find a cool place that isn't, it's out now? Okay, if you find a cool place that isn't, you submit it, and as long as it fits the guidelines, you can share that cool place with everyone in the world. Google that.
Yeah.
The guidelines are on the Ingress.
It would take a while. So we only have time for maybe one or two more. Blue shirt right here.
Is there an end game for Ingress? Like, is there an end objective?
There have been rumors that there would eventually be an end game for Ingress. If there is, it has not yet been revealed by Niantic.
Kind of why I asked my end game question. I wonder if they linked somehow. But at the same time.
So far, all we know, the only link we're aware of between the two is the people who make it. Orange, way back there.
Ingress is hopefully the first category, the first game in the augmented reality game category. But what is your ideal future augmented reality game you would love to see happen?
Can I
Ingress minus the bugs?
What I would love to see, Ingress is from Niantic, which is from Google. With Google Glass coming out, I would love to have it where Ingress is on your heads-up display, and so you're walking around and you get to see all of these things like directly, because the phone is kind of nice, but like being able to see it in your vision would be the best.
Like Google Glass, whatever.
Yes, Google Glass. Google it.
All right. I think we gotta call time because we gotta.
Can we do the one last question? Just
all right, one last black hair right there.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Why is everybody calling it a game when it's reality?
We have to pretend.
That's the cover story.
We've got to maintain our cover.
Yes.
So we have to wrap up, but if you guys have any questions or you want to try to figure out how to get connected with whatever side you've chosen to be on, just let any one of us know. We can get you connected.
Also, if you would like to have some Ingress comic books or other swag that we've got up here, come up here. I don't know that we have enough for everybody in this room, so we would like to prioritize on those who aren't currently players or who are new. So please come up. and we'd be happy to hand that out to you. And thank you so much for coming.